This video is on Chapter 4 of our Management for Church Leaders Volume Number 2 training. This chapter is on developing your leadership skills. The purpose of this particular chapter is to reinforce the need for every leader to continue to develop their leadership skills. You should take about an hour to teach this particular training, and don't forget to leave time for the exercise at the end. The key points we make in this particular chapter are: 1, that biblical leadership skills are spelled out in 1 Peter chapter 5. Number 2, develop your influence with others so that you can lead them. And number 3, follow through is a key skill for effective leadership. Again, remember to emphasize servant leadership, and that leadership skill development is ongoing. One can always get better at leadership. Like our other chapters, it begins with a scripture from 1 Peter chapter 5, and you should read that scripture because we're going to break it down in the very next section. And there's some dialogue there that you can share about why leadership is critical. You can read it or you can paraphrase it. And then we're going to go into breaking down what the Apostle Peter lays out as the 6 criteria for leadership in chapter 5 of 1 Peter. And we break these down to be shepherds, to be eager to serve, to be examples, to be humble, to be self-controlled and alert, and to be firm in the faith. And there are points that you can go across and run through and then teach those principles, but also share illustrations as well. And then you can ask a question of the group of which of these is the most important to them and what they think. This next section, we talk about using your leadership. And we reference some material by John Maxwell that we covered in the first manual as well, about using influence instead of your authority, about leadership styles, and about surrounding yourself with leaders that have other types of styles, because that'll help make your team more effective. And finally, the last bit talks about understanding situational leadership and how to apply your leadership skills in different situations. The next section is on developing your leadership skills. And we talk about how to continue to develop your leadership skills and the things that you can do. And some of these skills are things like communication, listening, wisdom, follow through, flexibility, encouragement, and passion. And again, you can go through these. There are scripture references. There are some points that you can teach. And again, give examples to what you know about in each of these particular cases. And then you can ask the group, which of these particular skills do they need most to learn? Because maybe they're good at communication, but maybe they're a little weak in listening. So you can bring that out. And this makes for very good discussion, helps people learn about communication and about leadership. And finally, the last section is just some reminders. We're reminding people what leadership is. It's about servant leadership. We remind them to continue to develop their leadership skills, that you don't just stand pat, but continue to grow as a leader. And third, to remember to measure your leadership ability by God's standards, not the world's standards. This is important for all leaders, especially within the church. And finally, there's an exercise here as well on developing your leadership skills. Again, we talk about these 7 skills that I just outlined, and the students can take this and give themselves a rating and what they can do to improve. And when that is done, you can actually have the group come forward, and some people volunteer their answers, and you can find out what people think. It's a good way of sharing and wrapping up this particular chapter. Thank you for watching this chapter on developing your leadership skills.